Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and today we're going to talk about UFC Vancouver, Reinier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen. And my friends, it's going down this Saturday night live at the Rogers Arena in Vancouver, Canada. We got two top 10 middleweights trying to stake their claim for a UFC title shot against Khamzat Chimaev. In Reinier de Ridder's case, he was supposed to fight Anthony Fluffy Hernandez in what was a surefire #1 contender fight. But in comes Brendan Allen, and if he can beat RDR, he could get that title shot like a thief in the night. Now, I know Nasruddin Imavov has something to say about that, but I gotta admit, that fight against Bohaya wasn't the most exciting. So if RDR or Brendan Allen make a statement, then you could be looking at the next #1 contender. So without further ado, my friends, let's get right down to business. Because in this main event, we got RDR, Reinier de Ridder. He's 21-2, taking on Brendan All-In Allen, who's 25-7. Currently, they got it RDR -205. The comeback on Brendan Allen is +175. So Reinier de Ridder is 35 years old. Brendan Allen is 29. De Ridder's 2 inches taller at 6'4", and he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage at 78 inches of reach. So hell of a main event. Obviously, we all wanted the Fluffy fight because that was a true #1 contender fight. But listen, Brendan Allen is no slouch. He's super experienced. He's a young vet, and he's very dangerous and opportunistic. Now, I want to tell y'all something before I break this fight down. I know y'all love the highlight reels that I played on my Contender Series videos. So I got some good news for you. But listen very closely. We're going to try out the highlights for the UFC videos. Today, I'm only going to do highlights for the main and co-main event. But fear not, for my next UFC breakdown, we're going to have highlights for every single fighter on the card. So don't cry in the comments about how I didn't have it for every other fight. And shout out to Meticulous for the unbelievable highlight packs. So let's not waste any time, my friends. When you talk about this guy RDR, he's long, he's goofy, he's awkward, he's known for his jiu-jitsu, but do not sleep on his hands, because if you do, he can floor you. But man, his submissions are so tight, and he can attack from all angles. And if you try to attack him with a submission, like Bo Nickel found out, bad idea. I mean, RDR straight up went out there and pinned Bo Nickel, which is a big, big statement in itself. And then he started to go full on Diaz, brother, on Bo Nickel. Absolutely broke him, body shots, rabbit punches, and just took away Bo Nickel's will to win. And when it was time to land that fight finishing blow, I mean, boy, did he do so with that knee. He just sat Bo Nickel down like it was nothing. And in that main event against Robert Whittaker, which was his biggest step up in competition, man, he got floored while he was teeing off on Whittaker. But he came back, he overcame the adversity, landed some big knees, which hurt Whittaker badly. And I thought that was a very impressive performance by RDR, showing that, hey, you're going to have to put me out if you want to beat me. Now, on the other side with Brendan Allen, like I said, he's a young vet. He's still in his 20s. He's been in the game so long. His rear naked choke is absolutely disgusting. He's got a wide array of submissions too. I mean, look at this ankle lock he hit on Carl Roberson a few years back. Then you start to sleep on Brendan Allen's hands, and he can go out there and drop people too. But where it's really at is that rear naked choke. I mean, it does not matter what kind of black belt you are. If Brendan Allen takes your back, doesn't matter if you're Andre Muniz, if you're Paul Craig, like, he can submit the best of them if he's got you hurt, and he locks in that Mata Leon rear naked choke. So RDR's got to be on his P's and Q's here, because Brendan Allen is opportunistic. He's dangerous. He's seasoned. He's been in the UFC a long time, and he's got extensive experience even outside the UFC. In his last fight, he put on a striking clinic against Marvin Vettori. I mean, he treated Marvin Vettori like the punching bag that he is. So I'm happy for Brendan Allen that he's getting this big opportunity, because talent-wise, Brendan Allen is right up there. It's just a matter of, can Brendan Allen have the mental catch up with the physical? That's the big question, because it seems like when fights get tough for Brendan Allen, he starts to question himself a bit. He doesn't fight back as much in that fatigue state. And it's unfortunate, because in the early going, this guy is hell on wheels. So the way I see this fight going is that I think that Brendan Allen is absolutely going to compete in the first round and a half. And I think he's got a chance to finish RDR. However, if he does not finish RDR, I see Reinier de Ridder taking over this fight. And by the time that late second round, third round, fourth round comes through, that's when I see Brendan Allen starting to accept some positions. Now, is Brendan Allen going to get finished? That remains to be seen, because he's a super tough dude to put away, but so is RDR. The only guy to put away RDR is this heavyweight he fought outside of the UFC. But at middleweight, RDR is undefeated, and he's looked, I don't want to say flawless because, you know, he did get dropped by Robert Whittaker, but he's looked pretty damn impressive, and he definitely looks like a title contender. I mean, the thing about RDR is he kind of reminds me a little bit of Dricus du Plessis, or in a lower weight class like Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira, where he does a lot of things wrong. He's awkward, he's goofy, but he's physical and he's effective and he's a winner. So you have to respect that. Now, I understand people taking a shot on Brendan Allen. Listen, he's a very dangerous fighter, plus 175 odds. So I completely get it. It's just that I don't want to say Brendan Allen chokes in big fights, because maybe it's a case where one day he's going to finally put it together. But up until this point, he has choked in his biggest fights. And I even remember after that fight he had against Fluffy, the second time, you know, him and Fluffy fought on the regional scene. In both Fluffy fights, Brendan Allen had a lot of success in that first round, but he just slows down badly after that first round. Same thing happened in the Imavov fight. But after that second Fluffy fight, Brendan Allen was on Instagram talking about how maybe I'm not the guy I thought I was. Massive red flag, because it just speaks to the guy's mindset and his confidence or lack thereof, because the talent's there, the technique's there, the skill set's there. Like, Brendan Allen checks a lot of boxes. It's just we need the mental to catch up. And I'm not convinced that it has. Whereas RDR, maybe he needs to shore up the tall man's defense a little bit, but that's kind of what makes him who he is, man. Like, you think that, oh man, this guy's a walking target, I'm just going to go out there and floor him. And then he's got these step through knees that are going to floor you. So you cannot underestimate a guy like RDR, no matter how awkward or goofy it looks, man, because he is dangerous. He's a finisher. So this is a hell of a main event. I highly doubt this goes the distance. And I'm going to pick RDR to come out here and win this fight. I think the early going is going to be tough, but eventually there's going to be a threshold. There's going to be a breaking point, and RDR is going to take over this fight and possibly go out there and finish Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's also alive for a finish too, but I just think the longer the fight goes, the more it favors RDR. So for that reason, I'm going to pick him to win this fight and secure that title shot against Khamzat Chimaev. Co-main event of the evening in the welterweight division, we got Kevin Big Mouth Holland. He's 28-14, taking on Mike Malott, who's 12-2-1. Currently, they got it a pick 'em with a slight lean on Mike Malott. He's minus 115, and Kevin Holland is minus 105. Holland's 35, Malott's 29. Holland's 2 inches taller at 6'4". He's also got a massive 8-inch reach advantage at 81 inches of reach. So, man, I cannot wait for this co-main event, because Mike Malott had to pay some dues in that Magny fight. Boy, did he have to pay some dues. But listen, he's bounced back nicely since then. And I talk about it all the time. No one's exempt from that first UFCL. I mean, unless your name's John Jones or Habib. And none of these two are named John Jones or Habib. But I feel like that was an important lesson for him against Magny. And since that point, I mean, he's come out there. I thought in that Radke fight, he looked super impressive. Radke's a very hard hitter, and it was Malott that put away Radke. And on the other side with Kevin Holland, I thought it was a case where, listen, when he's fighting old guys, you pick him. And when he's fighting, you know, younger, real prospects or contenders, you fade him. Y'all remember the Fade Kevin Holland World Tour. And then in Kevin Holland's last fight, he lost to a 40-year-old D-Rod. D-Rod literally dog-walked Kevin Holland as a massive underdog. But check this out. Let's look at some of these highlights from Kevin Trailblazer Holland. I mean, dude, he's such an experienced UFC vet. That knockout against Jacare will always be legendary. The Joaquin Buckley knockout, drops Alex Cowboy Oliveira and chokes him out. He even knocked out Fluffy Hernandez. So at Kevin Holland's best, I mean, he's got a lot of stuff. Here he is submitting Lord McCall. Now, credit to McCall. McCall never tapped. Now, in this fight against MVP, MVP just teed off on Holland to a point where Holland left the division. And then Holland leaves the division, goes up to middleweight, and then he's got RDR and Roman Dolidze destroying him, showing him that, hey, there's weight classes for a reason. So he drops back down. I love this submission, this anaconda choke against Vicente Luque. But in that D-Rod fight, man, D-Rod was like, we gonna hit him with the left, hit him with the right. It's a fight. It's a fight. Head bust him, head bust him. I mean, D-Rod just went out there and teed off on Kevin Holland as a massive underdog. Got one of the biggest upsets of the year. No one saw that coming. Everybody was parlaying Holland, and people lost their ass in that fight. And honestly, to me, that was the sign that now Kevin Holland is reaching journeyman status. He's 35 years old. He's losing to 40-year-olds. He's no longer motivated. Not that he ever was to make a title run or anything like that, but this guy is simply showing up for a paycheck. Look, he's dangerous. He hurts a lot of people with that right hand, and he's dangerous everywhere the fight goes, and he is experienced enough to where you have to be on a certain level to beat a guy like Kevin Holland. But speaking of which, Mike Malott, he's paid some dues. Listen, this guy's got a nasty guillotine. Here you see him go with the high elbow variation. Look at that. Super disgusting. I mean, this check left hook here against Mickey Gall, oh my God, face plants him. And Mickey Gall was known for being a durable guy. He went 3 rounds with Randy Brown. This arm triangle choke looks so deep. And then the way he drops Fugit, now look at this guillotine. This one right here is called the high wrist guillotine, which Gordon Ryan brought to prominence. Now, in this fight with Neil Magny, he beat the dog shit out of Neil Magny, but he pulled a rookie stunt at the end of the fight. And I believe wholeheartedly that was probably the best thing to ever happen to Malott. To get embarrassed like that in Canada, you know for a fact that he never wants to feel that again. And then here, look at that check left hook again against Charles Radke, the Chuck Buffalo, knocks out the knockout artist. And I got to believe that Mike Malott's confidence is all the way back up. And not only that, he's taken the experiences from the Magny fight, from his earlier fights, and now he's starting to feel comfortable inside the octagon. Now he's starting to feel like, this is my home. I belong here. I'm no longer the new kid on the block. Now I'm starting to become a bit of a vet. So I like the progression of Mike Malott. And I think in this fight, he can come out here. You know that Kevin Holland gives up easy takedowns. Listen, Kevin Holland's dangerous. He's hurt a lot of people with that right hand, like I said earlier, but Mike Malott's hurt a lot of people with his right hand and his left hand too. And Mike Malott can mix up those takedowns. I don't think he's going to get caught with a submission by Holland, but I think he can actually come out here and submit Kevin Holland. And you saw in Holland's last fight against D-Rod, Holland had a reputation for having an uncrackable chin. Well, that's no longer the case. Now we got 40-year-olds dropping and rocking Kevin Holland. So I think this is the perfect spot for Mike Malott to come out here and have his coming out performance where now he looks like a future top 15 guy. Now he looks like a contender. Now he looks like someone that paid his dues, learned from his mistakes, and is going to go out there against an established UFC vet in Kevin Holland and possibly finish him. So I'm going to pick Mike Malott to get the biggest win of his career in Vancouver, Canada. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Marlon Chito Vera. He's 23-10-1, taking on Aiemann Zahabi, who's 13-2. Currently, they got it Aiemann Zahabi minus 130. The comeback on Marlon Vera is plus 110. So Aiemann is 37. Marlon is 32. Both men are 5'8", but it's Marlon Chito Vera that's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage at 70.5 inches of reach. So right off the bat, something that really stands out is these odds. Like, I feel like a year ago, Marlon Vera would have easily been a favorite in this spot, but you know, he got embarrassed by the then champion, Sean O'Malley, and then by future Hall of Famer, Davison Figueiredo, you know, kind of guys that are on a completely different level than Zahabi. So this is an example of recency bias, these odds, because in my humble opinion, this should at the very least, be a dead pick'em, man. I mean, I don't know why Zahabi, why you have to pay chalk on him. Well, actually, I do know why, because he's on a big win streak. But when you examine that win streak, half the guys on that win streak are no longer in the UFC. And the guys that are still in the UFC are the ghost of Pedro Munoz, who's like 2-8 in his last 10 fights, and Aori Qileng, who, I mean, come on, man. You know, so he did beat Jose Aldo, but he beat Jose Aldo on his retirement fight, and the ghost of Jose Aldo almost knocked out Aiemann Zahabi. But to give Aiemann Zahabi a little bit of credit, he's a very smart, cerebral fighter. He's been getting a lot better. One thing that I've noticed is his volume has gone up significantly, and at 37 years of age, he's in his best form. So you love to see it, and I'm always a fan of these career resurgences, so I didn't see it coming from a mile away. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Aiemann Zahabi that got finished by Ricardo Ramos. You're talking about a guy in Aiemann Zahabi that lost a decision to Vince Morales, and he's favored over Chito Vera? Listen, man, Chito Vera has the most finishes in UFC bantamweight history. He's one of the most dangerous men to ever fight at 135 pounds in the history of mixed martial arts. The issue with Chito Vera is that he's a bit of a slow starter. Oftentimes, he takes off that first round. Now, interestingly enough, he finished O'Malley in the first round. I don't want to hear any injury shit. He bounced O'Malley's head off that canvas. I remember it. I saw it with my own eyes. But for the most part, he often loses that first round, then starts to come alive late second round, and then gets a lot of third round finishes or dominates guys in that third round. Now, I heard an interview with Chito Vera. He said that he used to run 15 miles every Sunday, like long distance running. Holy shit, 15 miles. He said that because of that, he got into kind of a habit of slow starting, because when you're running like that, he said like the first like 6 miles or so, he's kind of pacing himself a bit. And then, the next half, he's out there going full on. So I think that kind of carried over to his fights a bit. And he said that he stopped doing that. And now what he's doing is he's sprinting twice a week. I think that that is the right choice from a strength and conditioning perspective, because now he's getting in the mindset of, we got to go right away. We can no longer just sit back and be a walking punching bag. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think that the old habits are going to come to light against certain opponents. Like if he's fighting Corey Sandhagen or Sean O'Malley or Davison Figueiredo or any of these guys at the top of the division, then sure, they're going to expose certain things. I'm just not convinced Aiemann Zahabi is that guy. Beating the ghost of Jose Aldo does not prove to me that you're that guy. Now you can say, oh, but Jose Aldo beat Chito Vera. Yeah, half a decade ago. It's not the same guy. And the retiring Jose Aldo almost knocked out Zahabi. Ricardo Ramos bum-ass knocked out Zahabi. Vince Morales won a decision against Zahabi. So I don't want to discredit Zahabi, because I think he's going to come out here with a smart game plan. In that fight against Aldo, he fought fire with fire, which, damn, he was very brave doing that. I think the game plan here against Marlon Chito Vera, I think he's going to be hitting and running the entire time. He's going to try to point fight against Marlon Chito Vera. So it's up to Chito Vera to close the distance and put some damage on Zahabi. But honestly, I think that's exactly what he's going to do. Look, Marlon Chito Vera's back is up against the wall. And I love the fact that he's coming off a year layoff, because he was probably getting burnt out, man. That 5-round fight with Sean O'Malley. I mean, did you see that knee to the face he ate in that fight? Oh my God. And then the subsequent fight, we talk about it all the time. When guys lose in that title fight, it's not 100% foolproof, but more often than not, they lose their bounce back fight, which he did against future Hall of Famer Davison Figueiredo. But now he took a year off to let his body heal, work on the mistakes he needs to fix. And guys, remember, he's only 32 years old. He's fighting a 37-year-old here. So at the minimum, I think this should be a dead pick of -110 apiece. So I actually took a dog shot, a 1-unit shot on Marlon Chito Vera. I took it on Tuesday at +115 odds. Am I going to be frustrated when he loses the first 2 rounds, then almost finishes the hobby in the third and loses a decision? Yeah, I'm going to be pissed off about that. But honestly, I think that we're going to see a Chito Vera that's motivated, that has the fire under him. And everyone can talk about how he loses the first round and spread that narrative. But I think he's going to come out hot here in the early going, man. I think that he's going to surprise people with the kind of volume that he throws in this fight, because Aiemann Zahabi doesn't bring the same danger factor that Sean O'Malley brings, or Davison Figueiredo. And Aiemann Zahabi ain't nowhere near the level of a guy like Corey Sandhagen. This is a step down in competition for Marlon Chito Vera. I don't want to sound like I'm discrediting Zahabi. I have immense respect for him. I just want to keep it a buck. And I got to take a shot on the underdog here. It's only a 1-unit shot, because Marlon Chito Vera has a tendency to be super frustrating to watch. But I think that this is a sneaky good matchup for him. So as long as he doesn't get weaseled here, I think he's got a great chance to come out here and put the damage on Zahabi, get back on track, and cash an underdog ticket. Next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Manon Fiorot, she's 12-2, taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius, who's 14-3. Currently, they got it Manon Fiorot -220. The comeback on Jasmine Jasudavicius is +185. So Jasmine's 36, Manon is 35. Both women are 5'7", and Jasmine's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage at 68 inches of reach. So right off the bat, when you look at that tail of the tape, what stands out to me is that Manon Fiorot is normally the much larger girl in all of her fights. That's no longer the case in this matchup. Jasmine Jasudavicius is super physical too. And with Manon Fiorot, I mean, I got a lot of respect for her. You know, I bet her against Erin Blanchfield at decent dog odds. I even bet her in her title fight against Valentina Shevchenko. That's how high I was on her, or still am, honestly. But we talk about it often, like we just talked about in that last fight. when they lose that title fight, I mean, it's everyone's dream to be a champion. Oftentimes they have a letdown performance in their subsequent fight. Again, it's not 100% foolproof. You saw Poatan go out there and get his belt back, but I think that these odds are super disrespectful to Jasmine Jasudavicius, especially where the odds were a day or two ago. They were like plus 210. Yeah, I just feel like with Jasmine's current form, that's kind of a slap in the face. Like, why was Manon a plus 170 dog to Erin Blanchfield, but now she's minus 220 to Jasmine in Jasmine's best form? Yeah, it's just another one of those cases where I can't confidently say that Jazz is going to win this fight or Manon's going to do this or that. But what I can say is that this should be a serious tooth and nail battle between two of the top contenders in this division. Jasmine Jasudavicius' current form is super impressive. Ever since that loss to Tracy Cortez, I feel like she's just taking things to a completely different level. Her maturity, her confidence, her demeanor, her approach, everything has just tightened up. And I love what I'm seeing from Jasmine Jasudavicius. You know, when she fought Mayra Bueno Silva, I thought to myself that, hey, if Mayra Bueno Silva keeps this standing, I mean, she's going to tee off on Jasmine. Yo, Jasmine owned Mayra, not just on the ground, but on the feet too, which was a statement to me because I believe she spent some time in Thailand for that fight, and boy, did that pay off. And then you know that when you fight Jessica Andrade, that's the litmus test of, are you a contender or not? You know, Lupi kind of had this close fight with Jessica Andrade, barely got past her. It's like, yeah, Lupi needs some more work. Whereas Jasmine Jasudavicius just went out there and ran through Jessica Andrade like, hey, I'm a top 5 contender in this division. So with Manon Fiorot, what I think she's going to look to do here is sidekick and run, point fight, stuff some takedowns. However, here's the thing. When Jasmine was first getting started on her UFC run, a lot of her takedowns were upper body takedowns. And I think those are going to be tough to get against Manon Fiorot. But in that, I believe the Gabriela Fernandez fight, that's when I saw Jasmine start to mix in some lower body takedowns. And I was really happy about that, the evolution of her game. And it's crazy to say, but at 36 years old, she's in her absolute best form that we've ever seen. I mean, look at the win streak she's on. So in this spot where Fiorot is going to look to sidekick and run, one of those sidekicks might get caught. And if Jasmine gets on top of Fiorot, Jasmine is absolutely relentless. The thing about Jasmine's style is it might not be the prettiest. It might not, be by the book, but she makes you fight. She's going to make Manon Fiorot get into a fist fight on a Saturday night inside a steel cage in Vancouver, Canada. And again, this is one of those things where if this was minus 110 a piece, or even if Manon Fiorot was minus 150 or something like that, okay, no big deal. I completely understand. But minus 220 or where it was the other day, yeah, I took a 1-unit shot on Jasmine at plus 210 on Tuesday because it's like, to me, it's not a fade on Fiorot. To me, it's a bet on Jasmine Jasudavicius. When you're looking as damn good as she's been looking and you're a plus 210 dog, I'm betting on you. I'm not betting against Fiorot. I'm betting on Jasmine Jasudavicius. I think that her current form is something to look out for. Now, if Fiorot sets her back, then all respect to her. But I think that the difference between this fight and, say, the Erin Blanchfield fight, where I bet on Fiorot, is that Erin Blanchfield is not as physical as Jasmine Jasudavicius. And not only that, Erin Blanchfield isn't as relentless. So when Erin Blanchfield couldn't get those takedowns, she simply ran out of ideas and became kind of a punching bag in that spot. Whereas Jasmine, if she can't get the takedowns, is not the end of the world. Now, I'm not saying she's going to strike with Fiorot at range. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that I think she can push her into the fence and start to get a little bit of that dirty boxing. Y'all saw the highlight reel I played of Reinier de Ridder when he was going up against Bo Nickel, those rabbit punches. Start doing stuff like that. Just start getting that volume. Just make it a fist fight. Do not make this a pretty fight. And Jasmine never makes it a pretty fight. So yeah, this is just a play on the odds, man. Plus 210, which is what I got when I took the shot. Yeah, I just think it's disrespectful to Jasmine. Could she lose a 29-28? Yeah, of course. Fiorot is that good. Fiorot's physical. Fiorot is talented. Fiorot just had a really good fight with the current champion, and she even overcame adversity in that fight. I was impressed. I bet on Fiorot. I was pissed off. I lost a bet, but I still walked away impressed, and I still walked away thinking that Fiorot's a top 5 contender in the division for sure. But all that being said, when you're a betting man, the odds are the most important thing. And at plus 210 odds, I couldn't resist. So I took a 1-unit shot on Jasmine. May the best woman win. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Cody Gibson, he's 21-11, taking on Aori Qileng, who's 25-12. Currently, they got it Cody Gibson, minus 185. The comeback on Qileng is plus 160. So Gibson is 38. Aori's 32. Gibson's 3 inches taller at 5'10", and he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage at 71 inches of reach. So I'm actually kind of surprised that they put this fight this high on the card, but Sean and Mick probably know what they're doing. I mean, I know they know what they're doing. So this is probably going to be super entertaining. Now, when Gibson was minus 125, I was actually considering a bet. I was like, shit, I favor him in this matchup, minus 125, but I missed the boat. I didn't get the chance to move in. Now it's minus 185. I missed the line. And guys, you should never force a bet at a bad line. And I'm not saying that he's not going to win now that the line got steamed. I'm just saying that I missed the best of it. And I no longer think that this line holds value. But that being said, I do favor Cody Gibson in this fight, but I have some concerns. My boy's 38 years old. It's not a 38 where it's like Poatan, where like the dude's going out there walking down Ank alive and killing him like it's nothing. You know, it's not that kind of 38. Gibson was doing really well against Damon Blackshear, and the way he slowed down in that fight was kind of alarming. But on the other side with Aori, he's a very heavy hitter, and he cut massive amounts of weight to make flyweight. So I'm glad he moved up to 35s, but there's always been certain issues in Aori's game, his takedown defense. I mean, Jay the Jobber Perrin took down Aori. If Jay the Jobber Perrin can take down Aori, then Cody Gibson can take down Aori. It's just a matter of, is Aori going to be able to get off on some big shots against Gibson? Possibly, because Gibson tends to slow down in the second half of fights. So that's why here at minus 185, I'm worried about that, you know, at such a chalk price. And minus 125, I would have been like, hey, fuck it, let's roll the dice. But I missed the line, and I'm not going to force a bet, but I do favor Cody Gibson. I think that he can hang on the feet as long as he doesn't get badly compromised by one of these shots from Aori. I just think he's got more paths to victory. Like, I don't see Aori mixing in takedowns. I don't think Aori is a submission threat, whereas I think that Gibson can hang with Aori on the feet. But if Gibson mixes in some takedowns, I think he's got a big advantage there. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Cody Gibson to come out here and win this fight. Next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Kyle Nelson. He's 16-6-1, taking on Matt Frevola, who's 11-5-1. Currently, they got it Matt Frevola minus 115. The comeback on Kyle Nelson is minus 105. Frevola's 35. Nelson's 34. Nelson's 2 inches taller at 5'11". Both men have a 71-inch reach. So this is a super tough fight to call because both guys have kind of seen better days, right? Both guys are kind of on their way out. I describe Frevola as the much tougher guy of the two. I've never seen Frevola quit in a fight. I've seen Frevola get knocked the you-know-what out, but I've never seen Frevola break mentally, whereas I've seen Kyle Nelson break mentally more than once. But I think Kyle Nelson, even though he's been finished his fair share of times, I don't think he's anywhere near as chinny as Matt Frevola, but I don't think Kyle Nelson is anywhere near as tough as Matt Frevola either. So this is a tough one to call because I could see Kyle Nelson coming out here and knocking out Matt Frevola, but I could see Matt Frevola coming out here, weathering Kyle Nelson's storm, getting some takedowns and grinding him out and winning a decision. So this is one where I don't know. And when I don't know, I flip the coin. And real quick, on my last UFC breakdown for Brazil, some people got really mad at me that I flipped the coin on the two fights that I wasn't sure about. Let me tell y'all something. I'm going to always keep it a buck with y'all. If I'm confident about something, I'm going to tell you I'm confident about something. If I'm not confident about something, I'm going to tell you I'm not confident about something. I'm not going to come out here and lie to you and act like I know what's going to happen and act like I have this confident pick when I don't. There's plenty of bullshitters out there. I'm not one of them. So if you got mad at me for telling you the truth that I didn't know what was going to happen, that's on you. That's not on me. So as far as I'm concerned, I have no idea before the fact what's going to happen in this fight. But what I do know is what I already said. Frevola is the tougher guy, but he's the chinnier guy. So I have no idea. So tails, we'll say Frevola. Heads, we'll say Nelson. So we're going to go Matt Frevola to win this fight. But yeah, this one could go either way, man. So I have no idea what's going to happen in this fight. And I honestly don't really care to try to figure out what's going to happen in this fight. May the best man win. If y'all have a strong take on that one, let me know below. And y'all, they're like, never listen to a guy who flips a coin. Go fuck yourself. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Charles Jourdain. He's 16-8-1, taking on Davey Grant, who's 15-7. Currently, they got it Jourdain minus 170. The comeback on Davey Grant is plus 145. So Grant is 10 years older at 39. He's an inch shorter at 5'8", and both men have a 69-inch reach in this spot. So, man, massive shout out to Davey Grant on this career resurgence. Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, for the longest time, we thought this dude was on his way out. I mean, y'all remember the Jonathan Martinez fight where Grant got dropped early and then he comes back and knocks Jonathan Martinez, the you-know-what, out. And there were a couple fights there where Grant was getting dropped and finished, the Manny Bermudez fight, and this career turnaround. I mean, even that Chito Vera fight, he took some ridiculous punishment, but he's won 4 of his last 5 fights. He's looking increasingly better as he ages. I mean, this guy's like a fine wine. He gets better with time. So all respect to Davey Grant. Now, I want to talk about that last fight with Damon Blackshear because a lot of people are using that as a reason to bet Grant in this spot. Personally, I think the Damon Blackshear fight is completely irrelevant to this matchup with Jourdain. Why? Because not only does Damon Blackshear not have the stand-up of a guy like Jourdain or a guy like Grant, but Damon Blackshear burnt himself out badly, gassed himself out with that early grappling success. Then he had no answers in round 2 and 3. And one thing y'all know about Jourdain, similar to Marlon Chito Vera, Jourdain gets better as fights progress. That's why more often than not, round 3 tends to be Jourdain's best round in almost every fight that he's in. Great job to Grant on that Blackshear fight, but this is a completely different matchup. And I love this new weight class for Jourdain. I think that dropping to 135 pounds is the best thing that Jourdain's ever done. And, you know, the guy's got a sense of humor. If you follow him on Instagram, he's always joking about steroids and this and that. I'm not sure if it's a joke, man, because if you've seen some of these recent pictures, my boy's definitely been harvesting the Garden of Life fruits and vegetables. And I think that being 10 years younger, but he's not 10 years younger with no seasoning, 10 years younger with no experience. It's quite the opposite. This is a guy who's been in the UFC since he was a literal kid. Now he's coming into his prime, and he's got just as much UFC experience as a guy like Davey Grant, but he's 10 years younger. So here's the thing with Grant. I want to talk about that fight with Daniel Marcos that everyone tries to act like was the biggest robbery they've ever seen. I'm not even sure if people actually think it's that big of a robbery or if they're just kind of repeating what they heard. People love to be copycats. Oh, this guy said it was a big robbery, therefore I'm going to say it's a big robbery. I don't think that fight was a robbery at all. Here's why. Listen very closely. This is why that fight was not a robbery at all. I don't give a shit what UFCstats.com says because you need to put context on stats. And I know what I saw with my own eyes. And let me tell you what I saw with my own eyes in that fight with Daniel Marcos. Yes, Davey Grant threw a lot more volume than Daniel Marcos. However, most of the shots that Davey Grant threw, he either was swinging at air, he was swinging at glove, his stuff was getting blocked. He was throwing a lot of volume, but none of it was landing. Whereas Daniel Marcos did not have the same volume as Davey Grant. But man, he was popping Davey Grant's head back with jabs. He was sticking him. He was sticking and moving the whole time. So while Grant had the more volume, Daniel Marcos landed more shots, more clean shots, and outpointed him as far as I'm concerned. Like, watch the fight. Don't listen to what people have to say. Don't look at the stats. Watch the fight for yourself. Tell me who was landing cleaner in that fight. For real, tell me who was landing cleaner in that fight. It was Daniel Marcos. So I personally did not have an issue with that decision. I didn't have money on that fight. I didn't have any bias. I'm not, I'm more of a fan of Davey Grant than I am of Daniel Marcos. So there's no bias here. I'm just calling it how I saw it. I'm probably the only guy that feels this way too, because everyone likes to repeat what other people say. I think for myself. Now, here in this matchup with Jourdain, he's going to have to look out for Davey Grant swinging those big bombs, because one thing that Davey Grant does really well is when he loops those shots, they kind of come around the guard and they hit ear, they hit temple, and that kind of stuff will knock your equilibrium off. And I think that Jourdain's got to be aware of that. But man, Jourdain's kicking game is stupid good. And in addition to that, his hands are getting a little better too. And the way that he mixes up his hands to set up his kicks, I really like. Then you try to take down a guy like Jourdain. I know Grant's been mixing in some takedowns lately. I know Grant's a very well-rounded guy. Jourdain's got a nasty guillotine waiting for you. I mean, in his last fight against Victor Henry, he's the only man to submit or finish Victor Henry in 30-plus pro fights. That is a statement in my eyes. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Victor Henry who's like a Josh Barnett black belt. You don't just go out there and submit a Josh Barnett black belt who's never been submitted in 30 pro fights unless your guillotine is money. And boy, let me tell you, that guillotine is money. So I think the first round's going to be honest because Jourdain, just like Chito, gets off to those slow starts. But actually, I think that Jourdain's going to start to find his rhythm, and I think he's going to start to pick up the pace. And I think in those second and third rounds, there's a chance that Jourdain actually butchers Davey Grant, starts to open him up, starts to really put a beating on him, kind of similar to the way Chito Vera did in the second Davey Grant and Chito Vera fight. Not the first one, the second one, okay? So I'm going to go Charles Jourdain either by decision or by third round finish. So I'm going Charles Jourdain to come out here, get the biggest win of his career, get on a win streak at bantamweight, and earn himself a big fight. Next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Bruno Bulldog, he's 14-7, taking on Hyung Sung, Peace of Mind Park, who's 10-1. Currently, they got a Peace of Mind Park, minus 220. The comeback on Bruno Bulldog is plus 185. So Bruno Bulldog is 35 years old. Peace of Mind Park is 29. Peace of Mind Park is 3 inches taller at 5'7". He's got a 1-inch reach advantage at 66 inches of reach. And this is a hell of a matchup. Look, respect to Bruno Bulldog because he's a guy that paid real dues, man. I mean, that fight he had with Tagir, that was a tough fight, man. I mean, he was chopping Tagir's calf down, man. I mean, I don't know how Tagir was still walking in that fight. It was crazy. And some of the scrambles were great in that matchup. In Bruno's fight against my boy Cody Djorden, I mean, Cody Djorden was giving Bruno Silva a tour of the octagon. And that uppercut that Bruno Silva landed, oh my God, sent his mouthpiece flying. And that was a devastating knockout by Bruno Bulldog, but he took so much damage in that Djorden fight. Then he follows it up with that Manel Cap fight, takes a ridiculous amount of damage there, and then an insane amount of damage against Josh Van. Now I get it. Manel Cap and Josh Van, you know, 2 possible future champs. So what's the big deal, right? Hyung Sung Park ain't those guys. You're right. However, it's the damage he sustained in those matchups that I'm worried about, in addition to the fact that this is flyweight. When you're 35 years old at flyweight, unless your name is Alexandre Pantoja, is not the most promising look in the world. Now, on the other side with Hyung Sung Park, I like this kid, man. That performance against Carlos Hernandez, the way he ran through him, like usually guys have honest fights with Carlos Hernandez. Yeah, some guys might beat him, some guys might lose to him, but dudes don't usually run through him the way that Peace of Mind Park did. That was very impressive, and I took note. And then he had the balls to step up on short notice against Tyra in that main event. It was too much too soon, man. I mean, we called that. We said that it was going to be an easy matchup for Tyra there because Hyung Sung Park was simply biting off more than he could chew there, but he was saving the card. Remember, it was supposed to be Tyra versus someone else. I don't remember if it was Moreno or I don't remember who was supposed to be in that main event. It's been a minute, but I just know that it was like a week short notice for Hyung Sung Park, and the guy's got balls, so you got to respect him. Now, Hyung Sung Park's also been dropped his fair share of times, so Bruno Bulldog is live for a knockout for that reason. But that being said, I think that Hyung Sung Park's got more volume. I think that Hyung Sung Park has more paths to victory. Like, Bruno's a black belt, but the thing is, I think Bruno's slowing down a little bit. I think that Bruno's kind of on the back end of his career. So while he's always a dangerous fighter, I just think that the process, the minutes, and as long as Hyung Sung Park doesn't get caught with something big, I think he's going to come out here and defeat Bruno Silva. So for that reason, I'm taking Peace of Mind Park to get back on track. Next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Danny Barlow, he's 9-1, taking on Djorden Santos, who's 10-2. Currently, they got it left hand to God, minus 300. The comeback on Djorden Santos is plus 250. So Barlow's 2 years older at 30. He's 2 inches taller at 6'2", and he's going to have a 3.5-inch reach advantage at 79 inches of reach. So shout out to Danny Barlow for having the self-awareness, the maturity to be like, hey, I need to move up a weight class. And it's not just because of the Sam Patterson fight. Look at the Nikolai Veretetnikov fight. Won't you all agree with me that fight, even though Barlow clearly won that fight, it was a little too close for comfort, and something was clearly off. Something was wrong, and maybe it really was those weight cuts, man. And then you saw in the Patterson fight, all of a sudden you can't take a punch. So, yeah, I think moving up to 185 was the right move for Danny Barlow, and I'm expecting big things from this guy because y'all already know about the left hand of God. This guy's super athletic. He's got a lot of potential, man. He's a good prospect. Now, on the other side with Djorden Santos, I kind of think he's just okay. He's not bad anywhere, but he's not great anywhere. And in that last fight with Ozzy Diaz, I was considering betting Djorden Santos because I felt like, hey, Ozzy Diaz ain't going to win a single UFC fight. And Ozzy Diaz, look, it was a close fight, but at times Ozzy Diaz was popping this dude's head back with straight jabs. Like, God damn, like, what is going on here, Jourdain? Move your head, bro, you know? And then Jourdain gassed badly in that fight and just started eating some really unnecessary shots. But that was against Ozzy Diaz. You do not want to eat unnecessary shots against a man that they call left-handed God. Now, I understand people's hesitancy at minus 300, considering they probably got burnt on Danny Barlow's last fight against Patterson, and they were probably underwhelmed on his fight prior to that against Nikolai Veretetnikov. But let me remind you again, that was at 170 pounds. This is 15 pounds up. Those 15 extra pounds of water in his body and brain are going to go a long way. I truly believe that before the fact. And I think that Danny Barlow is not only going to get back on track, but I think he's going to come out here and knock out Djorden Santos with that left hand. Next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Kyle Prepolec, he's 18-9, taking on Drew Dober, who's 27-15. Currently, they got it Drew Dober minus 550. The comeback on Kyle Prepolec is plus 400. Both men are 36. Prepolec is 2 inches taller at 5'10", and both men have a 70-inch reach. And I believe Dober might turn 37 very, very soon. Now, shout out to Prepolec because he always wishes me a happy birthday on Facebook every single year. Like, we've never had a conversation ever, but every year I expect that happy birthday from Kyle Prepolec. Look, Canadians have a reputation for being nice. This guy fits that reputation. He fits the bill. He's a super nice guy. So, yeah, I kind of got a soft spot for him. But you know who else I got a soft spot for? The man with the second most knockouts in UFC lightweight history. Right behind Dustin Poirier. I'm talking about Mr. Drew Dober, man. I mean, Drew Dober's a guy that he's given us everything he's got inside that octagon, and he's been involved in some of the most amazing fights in UFC history. He's given us some of the most brutal knockouts in UFC lightweight history, and I'll always be grateful for Drew Dober just going out there and putting it on the line every single time. Drew Dober is never involved in boring fights. So Drew Dober's the man. Look, my only issue with this fight, I think y'all know damn well what my issue is. It's not the fact that Drew Dober's coming off a knockout loss. It's that Drew Dober's minus 550. Manuel Torres hits fucking hard, man. Manuel Torres is a very, very heavy hitter. Now, getting knocked out by Matt Frevola, that wasn't the best look in the world. I'm not downplaying how hard Frevola hits by any means. I'm just saying that Dober has a reputation for having an iron chin. I mean, look at that jaw, man. I mean, this dude can he used to be able to take a baseball bat to the chin and not go down. And now he's getting rocked a little bit more, wobbled, knocked out. So it's definitely something to be concerned when they're charging you minus 550 odds. And with Kyle Prepolec, he's got 10 knockouts on his record, and he's never been knocked out before. So, I mean, it's not going to surprise me if Prepolec gets his first UFC win and cracks Drew Dober's chin, but I just kind of feel like Drew Dober's on a different level than Prepolec. Even though Drew Dober has probably seen better days, will most likely never see the top 15 ever again, you still have to be on a certain level to beat a guy like Drew Dober. I'm not convinced Kyle Prepolec is on that level. Now, if he proves me wrong, God bless him. I ain't laying no minus 550 on Drew Dober. Are you kidding me? Pure pick. I think I got to go Dober here. And I would not be surprised if he handed Kyle Prepolec his first knockout loss. So I'm going to go Drew Dober to get back on track here, but I would proceed with caution. I mean, like, anything I tell you is already baked into these odds, man. Minus 550, it's just too rich for me. So it's a pass, but pure pick, I'm going to take Drew Dober. Next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Stephanie Luciano, she's 6-2-1, taking on Ravena Oliveira, who's 7-2-1. Currently, they got a Stephanie Luciano minus 280. The comeback on Ravena Oliveira is plus 240. So Ravena's 3 years older at 28. She's an inch shorter at 5'5", and both women have a 65-inch reach. So Stephanie Luciano, still very young and still very inexperienced, but she's got a lot of potential. She's tall, she's long, and her striking is something that once she feels like the octagon is her home and she's paid the requisite dues and starts to really feel comfortable in there, you're going to see some really nice stuff on the feet from Stephanie Luciano. Now, on the other side with Ravena Oliveira, listen, she's a tough girl because she was getting picked apart those first couple rounds against Tainara Lisboa. And then in that third round, she went out there, got those takedowns, got those dominant positions. So she's willing to take a beating to get to her desired spot. And in this fight, she's going to have to get it to the ground. Now, we have seen a weakness on the mat with Stephanie Luciano. But the good news for Luciano is, hey, girl, you're only 25 years old. You've had less than 10 pro fights. So she knows what she needs to work on. And I say that her ground game is an issue, but she went in there with Alencar, who's a real jiu-jitsu black belt, and she didn't get tapped out. So that's a big deal in my eyes. And then you guys know that Sam Hughes is always setting back all the young prospects. So I feel like that Sam Hughes fight was probably the best thing that ever happened to Stephanie Luciano. So here with Oliveira, I'm not exactly sure what Oliveira is going to bring to the table on the feet, but what I do know is that Luciano does have a hole in that takedown defense that Oliveira can possibly exploit. However, I'm expecting improvements from Luciano, and if she can keep this fight at range and we just see a slightly better version of her, I think she might tee off on Ravena Oliveira. So for that reason, I'm going to go Stephanie Luciano to win this fight, most likely via unanimous decision. Next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Azamat Bekoev, he's 20-3, taking on Yusri Belaguri, who's 8-3. Currently, they got it Bekoev minus 280. The comeback on Yusri is plus 240. So Yusri is 4 years older at 33. He's 5 inches taller at 6'5", and he's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage at 79 inches of reach. So right off the bat, the dynamic here is striker versus grappler, and y'all know that damn well. I mean, Belgarui has that kickboxing background. He was in there with Alex Poatan, with Izzy, with real guys in kickboxing. And it's just a matter of making that transition to MMA. I mean, I can tell you right now, if Bekoev can't get his takedowns going, he's probably going to get lit up. And I do have to give Yusri a lot of credit for the fact that if Marco Tulio didn't feel comfortable standing with you, if Marco Tulio felt like, hey, there's some kind of threat here, I got to take this guy down, then that speaks volumes to this guy's stand-up ability, because Marco Tulio is the most confident man in the UFC. Y'all know that already. I mean, the guy's topping Norma Dumont. The guy's on this undefeated win streak. Like, you don't get more confident than Marco Tulio. And for Marco Tulio to not only have to resort to takedowns, but to get Dana to be like, yeah, I'm just not interested at this time in that first Contender Series fight, to make Marco Tulio fight quote unquote boring, like shit. There must have been some kind of threat there. He must have felt something on the feet to make him fight in that way, because you know damn well that Marco Tulio is well-rounded, is dangerous, is exciting in all areas of MMA. Now on the other side with Bekoev, his current UFC run's been fantastic. I mean, he's just been taking these dudes down and pounding them out. But here's my concern. On his regional scene, when fights get extended, he's not just a little bit of a gasser, he's a lot of bit of a gasser. I mean, this guy huffs and puffs anytime fights go past round one. And that's the concern here, because he can come out here and take down Belgarui in round one, dominate round one. But if he does not get that finish, I'm curious if the takedowns are going to be kind of harder to get in round 2 and 3. And then if he's stuck on the feet with this dude, he's going to get picked apart. However, I talked about the height difference, 6'5" to 6 feet. That's a big advantage for Bekoev in the grappling, but a big disadvantage for Bekoev in the striking. Let me explain. If you're the wrestler, you want to be the shorter guy, lower center of gravity. I mean, if you understand fighting, you know what I'm saying. But if you're striking, you want to be the taller guy. Keep it at range, pick him apart, and you can hit him when he can't hit you. You understand? So this fight comes down to where it takes place. Now, I agree with Bekoev being favored. I'm just not sure I agree with him being favored to this extent. But all that being said, Bekoev is a lot more proven in MMA, and he's got a big path to victory on the mat. So I'm not sure if he's going to pound this guy out like he did to Zach Reese. I'm not sure if he's going to submit this guy, if he's going to grind him out. I don't know. I do lean Bekoev to come out here, win this fight. And it might not be as exciting as his last few fights, because this Belgarui guy, like if Marco Tulio can't submit you or pound you out, I'm not convinced Bekoev can. You feel me? So, and that was 2 years ago. So Belgarui's probably been making massive leaps in his takedown defense and get-up game. So I would just proceed with caution if you're looking to lay chalk here. But as a pure pick, I'm going to take Bekoev because of that ground advantage and because of that MMA experience. I'm very keen to see how this fight plays out. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Melissa Croden, she's 6-2, taking on Tainara Lisboa, who's 7-3. Both women are 34. Melissa's 3 inches taller at 5'10", and she's got a 3-inch reach advantage at 70 inches of reach. So this is an interesting fight because you got a Taekwondo fighter making their UFC debut in Croden taking on a Muay Thai fighter in Lisboa. So Croden being the longer fighter and being the Taekwondo fighter, I expect her to kind of be on her bike a little bit, sidekick, run, combinations, run, hit and run the entire time. Whereas Lisboa is going to be plodding a little bit. So from Lisboa's standpoint, what I'm thinking is that in order to get the movement of Kroden to slow down, she's got to start to chop her down with leg kicks. And if she's able to successfully do that and then make Kroden a little bit more stationary, that's where I think Lisboa can have some success. But on the other side with Kroden, if her legs don't get chopped down and she's able to be mobile the entire time, assuming she doesn't have some crazy adrenaline dump with that UFC debut, I think that she's going to not necessarily be hurting Lisboa, but just be racking up points. Sidekick, run, jab, cross, hook, leg kick, run. You know what I'm saying? Like, just point her up a little bit. She knows how to look good in front of the judges because of that Taekwondo background. All they do is point fight, right? So it's one of those situations where you got to factor in the UFC debut. Is she going to perform up to par or not? I mean, hey, shout out to Lisboa because I was at her UFC debut in, I think, North Carolina or South Carolina or something. Shout out to my boy Dan that hooked me up with those tickets. I know you're watching. I still remember. I really appreciate that. But Lisboa, I saw her win her UFC debut against Jessica Rose Clark, but that was a Jessica Rose Clark that was like in her like MMA retirement fight or something, right? Kroden's fought UFC level competition outside the UFC. You know, she fought Jacqueline Calvacanci, and in that first round, she was getting dropped all over the place. But after that, she fought pretty tough the next few rounds. So this girl's got heart. This girl's got resolve. So to me, it just comes down to staying on that bike, staying mobile, point her up a little bit. And shout out to everyone that took the dog odds on Kroden and got the line to flip. That was a pretty sharp move because Lisboa, although you have to respect her Muay Thai credentials, I mean, this is someone that fought Valentina Shevchenko in pure striking back in the day. I just don't see that much of an evolution in Lisboa's game. There's a massive weakness on the mat, as you saw in those last two fights. So I just think there's more upside for Kroden here. But of course, the UFC debut is the reason you shouldn't go big on a spot like this. But that being said, Kroden, stay on that bike, stay mobile, hit and run. Every time she lands something or every time she even misses a shot, the Canadians are going to go crazy. And all my Canadian fans that are going to Vancouver, y'all better show up early for your girl Kroden, man. Don't be like these other bum-ass fans that only show up for the main card, man. Like, show up for that first prelim and support y'all's own. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it just comes down to if it's a stationary type fight, Lisboa wins. If it's a mobile hit and run type fight, Kroden wins that. And Kroden might have some grappling upside. I'm not calling it, but it might be the case because Lisboa seems like a white belt or a blue belt to me. So I'm going to pick Kroden to come out here and win a decision in the spot. Now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So my friends, what is the fight to watch for UFC Vancouver? I think that the fight to watch has to be Davey Grant versus Jourdain because you're dealing with a 10-year age gap. However, both men, it seems like they're in their best current form. Jourdain's entering his prime at 32. Dave Grant is entering his prime at almost 40. I'm like, what's going on? This late career resurgence of Grant has been absolutely phenomenal to watch. I feel so happy for him. And man, he's such a dangerous fighter. If you have an off night against Davey Grant, he's going to send you home packing. But Jourdain in this brand new weight class, he always came alive late into fights up at featherweight. Now at bantamweight, I think he's going to start strong. And I think this might be his career best performance. And it has to be because he's going out there against someone in Davey Grant where it's now or never. So for that reason, Jourdain versus Davey Grant is my fight to watch. So now the question is, who is my fighter to watch? My friends, my fighter to watch is Jasmine Jasudavicius. If you would have told me a year or two ago that Jasmine Jasudavicius would make it to a #1 contender fight and be a fight away from a title shot, I would have been like, yeah, okay, bro. But the current form she's in, the way she's made this relentless style work, and again, I told y'all, her fighting style might not be the prettiest. It might not be the most technical. It might not be the most by the book, but she goes out there and she will make you fight. And if you're not ready to bite down on that mouthpiece and go to the depths of hell with Jasmine Jasudavicius, she is going to maul you. She calls herself the female GSP. And at first I thought it was a joke, but now I'm starting to see exactly what she means. And now she's kind of at that final boss before the final boss, if you catch my drift. So for that reason, Jasmine Jasudavicius is my fighter to watch. Well, my friends, we did it. It's going down this Saturday in Vancouver. Now, listen up. I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. I know someone probably didn't pay attention to what I was saying. Why were there only highlights for the first two fights and not the rest? Don't worry. We were testing out the highlights for the main and co-main. The next week, we're going to have highlights for every single fight. So shout out to the GOAT Meticulous for his unbelievable work on the highlights, on the graphics, on the thumbnails, and everything he does behind the scenes. You're the man. To the fans, please hit the subscribe button because once I hit 10K subscribers, I'm giving out some free signed Malcolm Wellmaker merch. Hit the like button so that the algorithm pushes me. Leave me a comment. Share if you feel so inclined. Thank you all so much for the support you showed me on Contender Series. I'm so grateful. And I will see you all very, very soon. So until the next time, let's cash these bets.